Sentire Media.
Welcome to the Stop Italian Sounding podcast, uncovering authentic Italian food. I'm your host, Robert Campana, and join me as we delve into the rich heritage of genuine Italian food, exploring its legends, history, and traditions. Through important tips and insightful interviews with industry professionals, you'll gain a deeper understanding of authentic Italian food. Welcome back, everyone, to the Stop Italian Sounding show, uncovering authentic Italian food. So, for today's show, I decided to do something a little different. I asked my followers on Instagram to submit some questions that I could respond to, which I'll do for today's episode. Now, I only chose a handful because some of the questions were similar and also because I wanted to keep this episode relatively short. So sorry if I didn't include your question in today's show. Anyway, I'll be answering these questions in the order that I received them. And the first question that I got was from Annie Darlingallo. And it says, your favorite place to shop for authentic Italian products? Well, this is a good question because I definitely have to say that my website, stopitasounding.com, is my favorite place. Everything found on my website, of course, is product of Italy, with the exception, of course, of the coffee, because coffee beans technically are not grown in Italy, but it is from an Italian brand. So anyway, these products I collaborate with Navona Imports to bring authentic Italian products to you. And we have things like truffle sauce, truffle powder, juice from Puglia, coffee, like I just mentioned. And we also sell the mocha. And to be fair, besides my website, I should say that it is hard to pinpoint one specific place because it would depend on where you are if you want to get those products. But I do like to shop around for Italian products because not every place has what I want. But when I do find a place that has good things, I always go back. And luckily by me, I have an Italian specialty store that sells, or I should say I live near an Italian specialty store that sells different things. So I'm a frequent shopper there. Also, my local supermarket sells good Italian cheeses, and I go there specifically for cheeses like Gorgonzola, Dolce, Parmigiano Reggiano, and many other things that aren't typically found in a U.S. supermarket like Ricotta Salata, Fontina, Asiago, and there's even Ubriaco. Now, of course, if you don't live in an area where Italian food is found easily, you'll have to shop, of course, online because that would be your only option. And again, my website is stopitasounding.com. But to be fair, there are many e-commerce sites that sell great Italian products out there, and you could find them just simply by Googling. So anyway, the next question I got from Instagram is from Made Last Night Studio, and the question is about olives, the history, the culture, and the hype for all of this liquid gold. So olives, as you know, have been part of Italy's cultural and culinary identity for millennia, and they were likely introduced to the Italian peninsula by the Greeks around the 8th century BC. And as the Greeks controlled southern Italy, they, of course, established colonies and brought with them their agricultural practices, including the cultivation of olives. And so eventually, when time passed and the Romans became the dominant force, olives became very important to their society for food, medicine, and even for religious factors. In fact, the Romans actually developed some techniques for pressing olives that are still used today. And as we fast forward from the Roman times to the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, olive cultivation expanded, with monasteries preserving and advancing techniques. And in modern times, Italy continues to produce olive oil and remains a leading producer of olives and olive oil around the world. So what is all the hype for olive oil? Well, the hype is mainly around extra virgin olive oil, which means that the olives have to be pressed and turned into olive oil in less than 24 hours after harvesting. And extra virgin olive oil offers many health benefits, as you may know, due to its composition of monosaturated fats and antioxidants. And it promotes heart health by lowering LDL cholesterol, reduces inflammation, it supports cognitive function, and even helps with digestion. In fact, I used to take a small little teaspoon of good quality extra virgin olive oil in the morning before I had breakfast. So I know a lot of people actually do that. It's more common than you would think. But anyway, the important thing to do is to choose a high quality extra virgin olive oil and to integrate it in a healthy and balanced diet, such as, for example, the Mediterranean diet, but not only. So quick things to remember for choosing a good extra virgin olive oil is to make sure that it comes from one location, because sometimes they could come from multiple locations like Italy, Spain, Greece, Morocco, and they all mix it together. And it's harder to understand the quality of those olive oils that are mixed together because there's a risk that the olive oil was diluted with poor quality oil. And that leads me to my next tip, which is to look for certifications, because that's a very easy thing to recognize. For example, the red and yellow PDO seal or the blue and yellow PGI seal. Now, I'm not saying that extra virgin olive oil without these seals cannot be good, because there are plenty of extra virgin olive oils without these seals that are of great quality. But the certifications do offer the consumers an easy way to recognize the fact that these extra virgin olive oils went through a very strict production process, and that has undergone many quality tests. So next, it's good to purchase extra virgin olive oil in a dark glass bottle, also because it won't be exposed to light, which tends to diminish the quality of the olive oil. Anyway, the next question I got was from Miss Becca. And the question is, which region of Italy do you think has the most diverse cuisine? So this is a question that to me is very difficult to answer, because all regions of Italy are quite diverse. So first, let me start by saying that Italy is a nation that before 1861 was divided up into independent city-states, and each city-state was influenced over the centuries by many different populations and civilizations. For example, Sicily has many Greek and Arab influences, including things like citrus fruits and spices like saffron, while places in northern Italy have historical influence from Central Europe. And the first thing that comes to mind is the Austrian influence that left things like Canerderli, for example, in Trentino Alto Adige, and even Speck. So I can't really pinpoint one region that has the most diverse cuisine, because over the years, Italian regional cuisine started to spread around Italy. For example, the introduction of tomatoes to southern Italy started first, of course, in southern Italy because they were part of Spain, and then slowly made its way around the peninsula. Also, typically in the north, butter was used as the main fat, while in the south, it was olive oil. Now, of course, many people even use olive oil in the north. So, anyway, we have a question from Frisles1029. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. And the question is, what is the most popular food from the region of Italy that you're from? So, I'm actually going to combine this question with Nick Rugg 67's question, which is, what are some dishes typical of your region of Molise? So the first one that comes to mind is the famous caciocavallo, which literally means horse cheese, but has nothing to do with a horse. So it's actually made with cow's milk, and it's called caciocavallo, cacio meaning cheese, cavallo meaning horse, because as it goes through its aging process, there are two forms of the caciocavallo that are attached to a rope, one on each side, and then it's hung by straddling over a wooden beam. So where does the word cavallo come from? The word cavallo comes from a cavallo di, which means straddling in Italian. So we combine the words cacio, cheese, and cavallo, which comes from a cavallo di, and we have the word caciocavallo. It does have a semi-hard texture that becomes firmer with age, and when young, it may have a smooth and slightly, let's just say, elastic texture, if you will, while older varieties could become harder and more crumbly. And the flavor of Caciocavallo cheese can vary depending on many factors, terroir factors, for example, the animal's diet, the region of production, and the length, of course, of aging. And generally, it has a mild and slightly tangy flavor with some nutty undertones, I would say, at least in my experience. And as it ages, the flavor becomes more complex. Another thing that I love from my region of origin, which is Molise, are the cavatelli. So cavatelli are small pasta, let's just say shells that are like rolled up, made from flour and water. And they have a curved shape, which most people would agree with, are perfect for trapping the sauce. And in Molise, cavatelli are typically served with a meat-based sauce, such as a ragu made with pork or even lamb, or just a simple tomato-based sauce with, of course, local ingredients like fresh tomatoes and herbs. And when I go visit my family in Molise, it's always, let's just say, a staple of of my visit, and it's so good. Next question is from Ani underscore CK, and this question says, "Your nonna's tips for making successful pasta dough." Okay, so this is good. So I actually asked my nonna, and she said that she kept talking about the kneading and how important it is, and not to rush that part. So the kneading of the dough, because it ensures, of course, that all of the ingredients in that dough are combined and literally eliminates any possibility of pockets of dry flour. So that's an important part and should not be rushed. And then she also gave importance to the fact that for a good pasta dough, or really for good cooking in general, I would say that you have to have passion about it. That's kind of the secret ingredient. You have to have that passion. And I feel like this is a common answer when asking people who have been cooking for a long time, especially traditional Italian nonne, because when they cook, they love what they're doing. At least they show that they love what they're doing. And then that shows in the final dish. So the secret ingredient would be passion and love. So the next question is from Made Last Night Studio. And the question is, explain the relatively new bread known as ciabatta. So like you said, ciabatta is a relatively new bread because it dates back to the 1980s when it was developed by Arnaldo Cavallari. Basically, he wanted a bread to compete with the French baguette, which was gaining in popularity all throughout Italy. And he decided to create this bread, which is a light and airy bread with a crispy crust. And after he created the bread, he noticed that it looked like something. It actually looked like an old-fashioned slipper, which would be the word ciabatta in Italian. So that's actually where he took the name, the fact that it looked like a slipper, and in Italian it's called ciabatta. Anyway, it is a bread that is very popular throughout Italy and could be found outside of Italy as well. But as we wrap up today's show, I just want to thank everybody who sent all the questions in, and I hope I answered the questions to the best of my ability, and I hope you liked the responses. And I would also like to thank everybody who is a regular listener of the show. So thank you very much. Grazie a tutti. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the stories of authentic Italian cuisine. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast for more insights and interviews. Also, feel free to reach out with your thoughts or questions on our social media channels at Stop Italian Sounding or on our website, stopitasounding.com. Grazie a tutti e alla prossima.
Sentire Media.
Hey, podcast producers and show hosts. Do you want to join a podcast network that celebrates all things Italian? At Sentire Media, we understand the allure of Italy and its unique culture. Our devoted team of hosts and producers are all driven by their shared passion for Italy. And we work tirelessly to create the best lifestyle podcasts and content that will whisk you away to the very heart of Italy. With us, you can savor the mouth-watering flavors, get lost in the stories from the past, break down the cultural barriers, and truly immerse yourself in the vibrant traditions of this intoxicating country. If you have a great podcast idea or are already in production and would like to join Sentire Media, head over to sentiremedia.com, that's SENTIRE media.com, and find out how to submit your show.